Buddy, hi, it's Ryan Charnock from CDH for another 5-Minute Friday. So, question for you. What's the point at which you fall in love with some kind of system? Well, I think it's when they learn the keyboard shortcuts. That is the key moment when someone goes, I'm okay with this Microsoft Office thing, when they figured out the Control-C, Control-V, Control whatever. And in Visual Studio, when I started using it, when I learned the Control-Shift, the chord option for T for Toolbox and Properties, that was it. I was sold and I was done. And the key concept here I'm thinking pulling out of you is the concept of a shortcut. Okay? Whenever you feel like you gotten to the point where you know the shortcuts, you got that down and figured out. Okay? And whether it's with the computer system or whether it's your ride home, okay, it doesn't matter. When you got those shortcuts, you're good. So I'm going to show you guys a couple of neat, interesting little things when it comes to shortcuts. Little did you know, the Microsoft Teams has a whole series of shortcuts that you might find helpful. Okay? So I pulled out a couple of them. You have like Alt-N, Alt-E, Alt-1, 2, 3, and 4. These are a couple of shortcuts I think you might find helpful in helping to use and embrace Microsoft Teams. So let's go through a little bit of demo and check this out. Okay, so I'm going to pull up my Microsoft Teams. Here's my Microsoft Teams interface. And let's start with some basic navigation ones. Okay, so if I use Alt-1, that's going to take me to this top tab, gets me to the first node here of activity. Okay, if I do Alt-2, it takes me to the chat. Alt-3 is my Teams, Alt-4, meetings, and then Alt-5, it just goes right down the line. So you can see it's not really challenging. It's a 1, it's a 2, it's a 3, it's a 4, and it's a 5. So those right there can be really helpful, especially if you know you're looking at your particular team. You're drilled into it. You're looking at content like, man, I want to start up a private chat. I can go to Alt-2. Get the chat, I can pull up somebody I want to start chatting with and start going to town. So that keyboard shortcut gives you that luxury of kind of moving around from one place to another. Some other ones you might find really, really helpful here is I like the ones, the accept and decline calls. So you have Control-Shift-D, decline, not going to talk to this guy today or right now, or I have Control-Shift-S, is also the accept. So those are some pretty common shortcuts that you might find really helpful. But let me throw a couple of things at you. Inside Teams, okay, they also have this thing called an activity or command bar. Okay, the command bar is this tool that allows you to do some keyboardy shortcut kind of things. Okay, so if you're not familiar with the command bar is this guy right here. It's what we traditionally see as the search bar, but with a little keyboard shortcuts, we can now use this to get perspective on content we've never seen before. So let's give it a shot. So the way it works in the command bar is you use the backslash, okay? That's this little slash right there that you would traditionally see like in a web browser address, HTTP // okay? So if I do the slash, it then automatically gives me a prompt for some of the key commands that I can use. And like one of the items that I really like here is saved. Is saved. Because there's no other way I can get this view, okay? So for example, in regular Microsoft Teams, you have the ability at chats, you can go to content, and you can look at a particular post, and there's this nice little icon here. You have like, then that right there is the save, which means this was so important, I want to come back to it sometime. Very similarly to your internet browser favorites, kind of like saving these websites because you want to reference them again. But now in the context of Teams and collaboration, stuff moves to such a high volume, you might want to save some stuff. So how do you then get back to get a summarized view? Where are these? Okay, so I can go up to the little command bar, I can do /saved. Oh, I just know that it was in there, and it's going to give me that short, condensed, consolidated look of all the items I've saved. Okay, let's look at a couple more here. Another couple of options you guys have under there is you have your disposition, so busy, away, do not disturb, and this next one I love, which is files. What it does for files, it now looks across all of my platforms, okay, within Office 365, and it gives me a list of my recent files. Gives me a list of my recent files inside Teams. These are files that are in my personal OneDrive, that are out in SharePoint, they're in Teams, and it now kind of brings that search experience all consolidated into one place. Now, don't get me wrong, you can get this kind of information other places and other ways. So for example, if I go to Office 365 and I go to the Office tab. Let's try that. Oh, let's go. Pull it up. Okay. This is the landing page for Office 365. And then right under other documents, this is where you can get your recent, shared with me, and then also discovery. And also, this is also a pretty common option for Delve. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm a huge fan of Delve. This is my start page for my browser. Office 365 taking me to Delve and shows me the content that's there. And if I go to my profile, it shows me my recent documents, and it's just searching all of my files. Excuse me. And I like it, the fact that I can do that right here also inside my Teams interface, that I'm not restricted to seeing my files from just in those other places, but I can get it inside Teams. So here it is. The big takeaway for today is keyboard shortcuts. Not only does Teams come with its own shortcuts, but it also has got a command bar to give you some different operations so you can start getting consolidated views and access to commonly used components. Thanks a lot, guys. This is Ryan from CDH with another 5 Minute Friday. We'll see you next week. Thanks. Bye-bye.